Wondering how the black screen there, I forgot to take cover off. Wondering how the black screen there, I forgot to take cover off the camera. I just hope this camera doesn't start fucking up again. It's a camera, it's a problem. I found this on X, this Guardian thing about the job on them. That's their job, they're a Guardian. They're Tories. That's what they're meant to do. That's the Tories' job, to take apart socialists. And it's also his job as a socialist to take apart that people ended up thinking of him as a hero. And I thought to myself, why? Why? I've always thought that. Why? He's only doing his fucking job. That's his job, you know what I mean? He's no hero. He's only a bloody trade union boss, that's all. That gets paid more money than everybody else that's in the bloody union. So anyway, Mick Lynch's charisma is undeniable. As for his strategy and tactics, the jury's out by Gregor Gall. Magnetic Mick is a smooth operator with a robust and radical message, but the RMT leader has arguably failed to stave off the government's attack on rail workers. And what actually happened is, anyway, they've twisted it a bit because they're Conservatives. That's their job to do that. It was late June 2022 when the first national rail strikes began that the RMT union leader Mick Lynch emerged as a standout political figure. He had conducted a series of spectacular television interviews. I don't know about spectacular. First with Piers Morgan, then Richard Madeley. Both are renowned for taking on left-wing interviewees, and both were given short questions and picked apart their anti-trade union stance. Well, they're Tories too, so they've got an anti-trade union stance. They did their job, he did his job, that was it. He's not a hero, far from it. Consequently, many labelled him a hero. Yeah, it was stupid that, by the way. They're all saying on Facebook, all the old people. Yeah. Yeah, all the old people were saying Mick Lynch for Prime Minister and all that, you know. And I'm thinking, piss off, man, don't be stupid. Why? Because he's doing his job. The same with Corbyn. He was doing his job as a socialist. Partly anyway. He didn't have any control over the Labour Party, but it's besides the point. What he did do, he done well as a socialist leader, apparently, of the Labour Party. That was his job too. He's not a hero either. Of course he's not. None of them are heroes. And they get paid well for it. You get paid very well for that. You get paid better for that than the Prime Minister for his wages. You should Google that. The RMT General Secretary undoubtedly won the media war during these initial skirmishes as public opinion began to turn in favour of the union's demands for fair pay and conditions in its concurrent battles with Network Rail and the train operators. But 18 months on, despite almost 5 weeks of strike action in total, that considerable soft power has not led to any significant concessions. Yeah, and this is, listen to this part. The agreement reached with Network Rail in March this year it gave a no strings pay increase. Yeah, but it wasn't no strings, but of up to 14.4% for the lowest paid rail workers and 9% for the highest paid staff. Yeah, over 2 years. Nah, and that's why I said no to it. It's over 2 years. What is it? What is it with the fucking English? The English governments. It's always over like 2 years, over 5 years, over. Doesn't matter what they're doing. And that all started with Gordon Brown. Tony Blair didn't do that. The minute Tony Blair walked away and left Tony Brown at the helm, Gordon Brown at the helm, that's when all that shit started. And every time, anyway, when Tony Blair was the leader and Gordon Brown was his chancellor, every time he announced anything, it was always over this amount of years or over that amount of years. That's where all that began. Before that, him, of course, no, people just said, well, we're going to give out X amount of money for this, that, and next thing, and they just did it. All this penny pinching, Gordon Brown is a fucking Tory, basically, when it comes to finances. So anyway, that was the Tories' no strings, apparently. It was over a 2-year period, the 14.4%. That's even Labour in the 1970s, the Labour government in the 1970s, didn't do that either. Over 2 years now, and over 5 years and what have you. Now, people got up to 20% pay rises in the 1970s. Some people got a 20% pay rise. Yeah, they always got what they asked for because they always stayed in strike. Not just a couple of days here and there. They went little city boys in the 1970s, you see. They were real people. And they stayed out in strike for weeks on end, months on end, even if it took it. Doesn't matter how long they stayed out. And that's the only way you're ever going to get what you want from a government in Britain. And if you can't do that, it's your own fucking fault, and city boys. That's true. Yeah, so anyway, the agreement reached for Network Rail in March this year gave a no strings my arse, pay increase of up to 14.4% for the lowest paid, and for the highest paid 9%, but it was over a 2-year period. That was the so-called no strings. That was the strings attached to it. It's pathetic. So they would only get 7% first year, 7%, 7.2% first year if you're the lowest paid, and 7.2% the following year. With the way the interest rates were at the time, they were up at 12.5% or something anyway. Interest rates. So in the first year, you would get, if you're the lowest paid, 7.2%, right? Which is way below the line of inflation. Only because the interest rates were 12.5% at the time. Guardian doesn't mention that, you see, does it? No. It's not a hatchet job for anybody that knows what they're reading. Or any spastic that reads it and just read it, and don't know anything about anything. They won't be any fucking wiser. They'll believe it. And half of them don't even know that the Guardian is a Tory newspaper anyway. Yeah, for things like this, you can expect a Guardian to write things like that, and write it in a way where all the thick bastards won't have a clue and believe it. and that's what they want. That's the whole idea. That's their job as a Tory newspaper. But they do a lot of good stories that nobody else covers. So I like the Guardian. I just don't take any notice when they do things like this, like the person on X did. He's wanting to know why they did a hatchet job on Mick Lynch. Because they're Tories. That's why. So anyway, the deal failed to make up adequate ground for workers who had suffered a pay freeze in 2021, with the Guardian reporting that the agreement barely catches the goat tails of inflation. There you go, that's what I'm saying. And that was true, and the Guardian did cite that actually. They've got their good points as well as the Guardians don't got any bad points, okay? I mean, this is their job. They're meant to do a hatchet job on him. But all through Mick Lynch's TV screen career, one might say they didn't do hatchet jobs on him. They were doing hatchet jobs on the Tories instead, even though they're Tories. That's how much the Tories are liked. Even the Tories don't like the bloody Tories. So anyway, yeah, the agreement, yeah, I've read that bit. Yeah, the Guardian reporting the agreement barely catches the coattails of inflation. It was even pointedly described by Lynch himself as not a great deal. It wasn't. It was a shit deal. I mean, even if it was 14.4% for the poorest rail workers in the first year, like that, it still wouldn't have been enough, because it'd only be roughly 2 points over the line of inflation, over the interest rates at 12.5%. You know. So by the time the following year came, they wouldn't be any better off, which is true. So they're quite right to say no. They would have needed a 20% pay rise. I was saying that at the time on Facebook, yeah, 20% pay rise. But Mick Lynch wouldn't ask for a 20%. None of them would ask for a 20% pay rise. And there was somebody that did actually, but it wasn't the rail workers. It could have been. It was the nurses, that's what it was. But the thing about having a union boss, this is the problem. The union bosses of the nurses ended up watering it down. They had a meeting. The minute a union boss has a meeting with the government in number 10, if you're part of their union, you know you're going to get fucked. It always happens. Union bosses are a waste of time. I don't believe in unions that have union bosses. You notice Mick Lynch doesn't have to come out on strike for a wage increase. Of course, none of them do. They're all pretty wealthy people, actually, these union bosses. It's only pretty wealthy people that get picked to be a union bloody boss. Ordinary workers that are members of any union are never, ever, ever going to be a union boss. Are you fucked? Labour, and it's nothing to do with Labour now anyway, because Labour wiped their hands over unions. Starmer. And if it wasn't for unions, there wouldn't be any Labour Party in the first bloody place. Another reason not to vote that prick in. And if you're on the sides of the unions and you're on the sides of Gaza, the Palestinians, and you're not on the sides of the Tories or Israel, then you won't vote for Labour next year. And if you do, you're a cunt. Simple as that. Yeah, so anyway. Despite the success of stopping the ticket closures in October, the agreement with the train operating companies was also not great for the RMT members. A backdated pay rise of 5%. Piss off. Well, that's better than nurses got, but yeah, that was under Theresa May that time. The nurses came out and strike under Theresa May. And their union accepted a 2% pay rise. Piss off. That was under Theresa May, actually, yeah. I remember that one. I was sitting here going, oh, for fuck's sake. 2%. I mean, our nurses up here were given more than that without having to go and strike up here in Scotland by the Scottish Government, for God's sake. 2%. I know, it was pitiful, that was. It really was. Yeah, so... Yeah, despite the success of stopping the ticket office closures in October, the agreement with that won't last for long, but they'll still close them down. Remember the bank machines? They're still closing down, aren't they? And this was years ago. They agreed with the government at the time not to close any more bank machines down or bank branches down across Britain, mainly England, of course. Yeah, they made an agreement on that with the government, whether it was an oral agreement or whether they signed anything. So they probably never signed anything. So they agreed on it anyway. But they've still been doing it since, haven't they? The ticket offices aren't any different. Only because this is the 21st century and everything's moved on from having paper tickets. Yeah. But there are failings in that system at the moment because this is a human world with human beings in it and we're not all machines. If we were all machines, we would fit in perfectly with systems like that. And that's the thing. The people that create these systems like that, they don't do it because they're bad people. It's a good idea to get rid of train tickets. Of course it is. I mean, it's a good idea all round. I mean, it'd be a lot easier just to do my card through your bank card, just through a little machine as you go through a turnstile to go into a train. That's you bought and paid your journey. You don't need a ticket because you don't get through a turnstile unless you pay. Something like that. That's the way I would do it. You don't have to be able to use the internet or any bollocks like that. No. That's how you would need to do. Simple enough thing to do, for anybody. Fuck's sake. But it's not like that. I don't know how it's done in London. You've got a special ticket, a special travel ticket for a start. You've got to use down in London somewhere or another, and you've got to swish it through a machine too. Oyster. What are you? They don't do anything right English, are useless. So they've got people down there, people with disabilities and things like that wouldn't be able to use trains without tickets, because of the way they were going to set it up if they shut down all the ticket offices. For some people, that's all they know. That's all they know how to do is walk up and buy a ticket, And for these sort of people, obviously, that should remain in place. But it won't, because we're talking about England. So anyway, the ticket office closures in October. The agreement with the train operating companies was also not great for RMT members. A backdated pay rise of 5% for the 2022-23 financial year, and thus a wage cut in real terms. And that's without taking into account the 18 months it took to get to this point, and the weeks of wages that were sacrificed in the process of striking. Meanwhile, the job security part of the deal, which promises no compulsory redundancies, anybody believes that, they're idiots. Definitely. Well, there might not be any compulsory redundancies on the face of it. There are still going to be redundancies. Fucking, of course. I mean, fuck's sake. All through your life, you've seen it time and time again. With strikes, whether it be rail strikes or any other kind of strikes. Oh, yeah. The shipyards decades ago when I was in school. It was the same with that as well. There weren't going to be any forced redundancies, but it still are in a roundabout way, because people find another option anyway, without them actually being handed notices of redundancy. They know they've no other option but to do it. Fuck that. So anyway, and that's without taking into account the 18 months it took to get to this point, and the weeks of wages that were sacrificed in the process of striking. Meanwhile, the job security part of the deal, which promises no compulsory redundancies, lasts only until December 2024. And the negotiation over changes to working practices will now take place on a company by company basis. And that will happen. The whole fact that, right, what they want to do is save a whole load of money. Closing the ticket offices is number one. And these strikes came at a really bad time for all those rail companies. It's like a bit like a post office. Their strikes came at a really bad time for them too. And it just complicates the whole situation. Because they're thinking, the post office also wants to modernise, and they've been talking about it for years. But they're fucked now. Because of all the strikes that were going on, they couldn't modernise. Plus, they made one or two bad decisions over the past 5 or 6 years that screwed them up as well. So all of the post office will be disappearing totally. Eventually, there won't be anything left of it. And they were going to turn their business into a business like a courier business, just delivering parcels for places like Amazon and all that. That's what they were going to do. They were going to shut all the post offices down, shut everything down, and just do a courier parcel service for companies, private companies that are selling on the internet. That's what we were going to do. But they can't do that anymore now anyway. They don't have any funding to do anything. And I don't know what happened about the postal strikes, but if they ever got a pay rise, it wouldn't have been any major. Because the post office, they can't afford it. The fuck. As far as the railways go, oh yeah, they want to do. They'll do quite a few changes. Won't just be ticket offices. And they'll chop down all their workers. The amount of workers. They want to streamline it all. So there's less railway workers needed. And they can do that. But they've got to invest money into that in order to achieve the savings that they want to make. But they can't do that if they're giving people pay rises. So that's why it was bad timing for the strikes. And this is hence they got offered these stupid pay deals. What's this from a worker's point of view? Totally ridiculous. So the negotiation over changes to working practices will now take place on a company by company basis. So the fight to maintain members' terms and conditions will be fragmented, while Lynch continues to be the most effective media performer within the union movement. There have been clear shortcomings in his political strategy and industrial tactics. There haven't actually. They haven't. It's only because the railway companies are going to make big changes. It doesn't matter how many people go on strike or fuck all like that. It doesn't matter what Mick Lynch says there, It doesn't make any difference what he says. It doesn't matter, he's only doing his job. He's not a hero. For a dumbwits, I think he is. He's probably already spoke to him. He's had meetings with him, obviously, tons of meetings with them and the government, and it's been outlined to him probably the changes that the railways were going to make before the strikes came along. And it's probably been laid down to him in black and white, basically, what they can afford to do under the circumstances and what they can't afford to do. And so far as pay rises are concerned, things only lasting up until 2024. No redundancies, compulsory redundancies until December 2024, only because that's their limit, probably. After that, they're definitely going to make the changes they want to make, because they'll have to, probably. It's all down to money. If they don't do it then, they're never going to do it. And the companies could end up going under. It's a thing. And he wouldn't even explain that to the workers, probably. And you don't get union bosses go away and they have these private meetings and they come back and they don't tell anybody anything that was really said. When it comes to situations like this, postal workers would have been the same. I can guarantee you that the bosses of the postal union had a meeting with the post office, in Royal Mail, and I had a meeting with the government all at the same time, and it was outlined to them what Royal Mail and the post office wanted to do in the future, in the near future, before the strikes came along. The strikes getting away. But a union boss comes out of a meeting and doesn't tell everything that was said. Can't trust them. You can't trust them. Modernisation of the railways, there you go, that's what I'm talking about. Has long been a quest for Labour and Tory governments. Yeah, they're never going to modernise the railways. Not for the 21st century, they're not. Them and a lot of electric choo-choo trains. Yeah, they're sticking to that. Like, I mean, look at the Tories. Wasting money left, right and centre on railway lines and what have you. Brand new railway lines. Piss off. Fuck's sake, man. I mean, Jesus. Because they don't want to. The government doesn't want to invest money. They've got to invest some money into the private companies. The private companies can't do it alone. But the kind of money that's needed to actually bring I was going to say actually bring the railways up to 21st century standards would be a hell of a lot more than the Tories or Labour want to spend. And you're actually talking about scrapping the railways and replacing them with something better. And it is something better. The Arab Emirates is already doing that over there. Yeah. So they can move their goods, transport their saleable goods all around the world a hell of a lot quicker under the ocean bed. They won't be using ships anymore over there. And probably it'll take a long time before the rest of the Middle East sort of copies it. But that underground system will end up spanning right across the world. That's what Arab Emirates is doing. And it's a lot faster than trains. And obviously it's a lot faster than shipping, you know. And it's actually a lot faster than flying too. That's too expensive anyway for transporting goods around the world when you're trading. But that'll speed Arab Emirates' trade up significantly, even though the amount invested in what they're doing will be a lot. Close to at least £1 trillion. Not £1 trillion pounds sterling. Simply because the British measurement of cash is a lot smaller than the rest of the world. So we're talking about dollars. Yeah. Because at least everywhere else in the world, when you're talking about billions, never mind trillions, billions, a million is a billion. Everywhere in the world apart from England. English billions is only 1,000 million pounds makes one English billion. That's fucked that is. So here I'm talking about billions, that's what I'm talking about. They're not talking about a million pounds, are they? Fuck. They're talking about 1,000 million quid. Yeah, that's a pissing joke, that. When I'm talking about billions, I'm talking about a million quid. A million quid. But the Tories and Labour and all them in government are talking about it. They're talking about 1,000 million quid. It's pathetic. Because Britain's such a sad place, which it is. And people keep doing enough to vote for them anyway. Yeah, so modernisation of the railways has long been a quest for Labour and Tory governments. Yeah, it looks like it, doesn't it? For them, it meant cutting costs by introducing flexible working practices. That's not modernisation. How is that modernisation? All that's doing is cutting your costs. That's it, cutting costs. Cutting costs is not modernisation. Modernisation is modernisation. I call modernisation what it is, modernisation, not cutting costs and cutting corners and running down the railways so that impacts on the general public. And that's what would happen. So no, fuck that. A long confrontation between the government and backed rail operators and the RMT has thus been brewing since the pandemic. Lynch and the RMT would have known that an attack on rail workers' jobs and terms and conditions was in the pipeline, and yet the RMT did not establish a national strike fund. Where are they going to get the money for that, you half-wits? You Guardian, eh? Is the Tories going to pay for that, are they? You can't do that, they're just criticising them now. That's just Tory criticisation, that's all. Despite having stocks and shares worth more than £25 million. Yeah, they would love that, wouldn't they? They would love RMT and other unions just to eat into all their stocks and shares and make their unions completely bankrupt. Yeah, Tories would love that. Don't listen to that rubbish. RMT members were reluctant to take more than sporadic 1 or 2 day strikes, and that's what I was saying earlier on. If you want to go and strike, you've got to go and strike properly. It's never going to work like that. And look at the teachers. A couple of years back, down in England, they went to strike on the weekend. They went to strike on the weekend on a Saturday and Sunday, so they wouldn't lose any wages. That's Irish. It's not Irish, it's Northern Irish, actually. The Republic are my friends. That is. Knowing full well that the schools are closed at the weekends anyway. So what kind of strike is that then? If you Google that, it'll probably, a headline will come up probably. That was a couple of years back. I remember reading that, and I was sitting here laughing at it. Stupid as fuck. That's how stupid people. And these are teachers, supposedly teaching children. Stupid as fuck. So obviously they didn't get a pay rise because they're weekend strikes. Schools are shut at the weekend. Anyway. RMT members, yeah, I've read that bit. By contrast, the Unite Union set up a multi-million pound national strike fund in 2012, which the union has begun to use more since the election of Sharon Graham to General Secretary, contributing to a high level of strike success. Yeah, that's what I mean. I could stay on a strike. In the way back in the 70s and that, they just stay on a strike to get what they wanted. Only they didn't get have to do without their wages. Way back in those days. But they did it. So it was a matter of principle. And they always got what they wanted. Oh, ending up to 20%. This is what we want. And we're not taking no for an answer. Because they knew the government had to cave in eventually. You stay out for long enough constantly, for a month on end, for as long as it takes, and you never go back into work, they can't sack you. And people didn't get sacked away back in those days either. They can't sack you for that. Because then it's unfair dismissal. Even in the 1970s, it was unfair dismissal then too. Some companies would try it though. The government, Tories would try it. Probably Labour might probably try it too if they were in government. Because they don't like the unions these days. Because they're Zionists. But if you just stay out constantly, that always works. Especially if you're teachers, especially if you're railways, airport staff. And that's another one. Because that kills huge parts of the British economy. If you had airport staff, the pilots especially, just come out of strike and say, fuck it, we're just staying out. I'm not flying another plane until I get my big pay rise. And they do all stay out. Then that company is going to go fucking bankrupt. That airline company they work for. That's got no other option but to do it. No other option at all. That's for the railway workers. It's between the rail companies and the government. The government can if the railway companies decide we're not going to pay that 15% or 18% that they're looking for, then it's down to the government eventually. The Tories would forget and brush it to one side for as long as they could, but eventually it would end up the government would have to pay that pay rise. They would have to subsidise the private company to pay out that pay rise. Because they can't have a country with the railways coming to a standstill all the time. Because that affects the economy hugely, drastically, just as much as it would do if airports were all out and there was no planes flying. No planes coming in and out of the country, like. Yeah. The people these days are, I don't know. They want their cake and they want to eat it at the same time, and it's not happening. Governments want that as well, but it is happening with the governments because the very same people are so gullible. They'll sit back, they'll moan about what the government's doing on Facebook or on X, and that's all they do. Instead of taking action against said government, you know. I don't want to do that, do they? Don't know why not. The only thing that's changed in this country is not so much politics or anything else, it's just the same. The people has changed. I don't know what they used to be. They're too soft. During his many media appearances, Lynch repeatedly made the point that it was the government refusing to settle the strike and the rail operators who were doing the government's bidding. But to voice the truth is never enough. Victory would have required a broad coalition of interests to be formed in advance of the strike's beginning. What did happen was that the Enough is Enough campaign was launched in August 2022, bringing together an alliance of strident left-wing voices from the labour movement, including Lynch, the CWU General Secretary, Dave Ward, and the Labour MP, Zara Sultana. She's got to be a friend of Israel. I can guarantee you she is. She's got to be. Because if she wasn't, I can guarantee Stammer would have beaten that arse right out of Labour like he did with Corbyn and the rest of them. All those ones that are still in there, all sounding all lefty. I don't buy that pish. Nah. Anyway, the campaign was met with considerable enthusiasm. Didn't last long, but did it? I don't know, about 6 or 7 weeks. Plastered all over Facebook, and that was it. I've not seen it since. He died of death. Where are we? Yeah, it was met with considerable enthusiasm, but never developed beyond a series of well-attended rallies. That's what I mean. It's gone. By the beginning of 2023, Enough is Enough was all but defunct. I know, waste of time. That's a bad thing about lefties. They're not good at doing things. That's why they never created a brand new political party. They don't have the brains for it. They really don't. They don't. And they were all shouting out, "Oh, Corbyn should start up his own party." Why? Why? No, he shouldn't. Leave Corbyn alone. Let him do what he wants to fucking do. He's in his 70s, you know. Fuck off. And I said to them tons of times on Facebook, you want a new political party? You start it up then. Dickhead. Yeah, that soon shuts them up straight away like that, you know. Oh yeah, you want a new political party, do you? Yeah. And you get a bloody cheek to expect poor old Mr. Corbyn to fucking do it. Why don't you fucking do it then, dickhead? Yeah. I shut them up like that. Arseholes, man. They're just quite happy sitting in their own little houses watching the Emmerdale Farm, EastEnders, fucking Coronation Street and all that shite of a day. And they got it pish like that on Facebook, you know. Expect to know. And besides the point, anyway, Corbyn supporters, and it's pretty plain to me why they were Corbyn supporters. I'm up here in Scotland and I found out about them way back years ago, 2016 or something. Oh, that's fuss. What's all this fuss about this guy, Jeremy Corbyn, you know? And I started looking into it. I found his videos on YouTube. And I seen one or two of them and thought, well, he's just another voice. He's just another voice with no action, you know. But then more of his videos came out. He done more of them, and you could see the sincerity in in his face. You could hear the sincerity in his voice and everything, you know. That's what made me support him. Not like the English. The only reason they supported him was because they thought they were going to get something out of him if he'd have succeeded as a Prime Minister. But he was never going to succeed because he made a fatal mistake. He was over in the Middle East years ago looking at a refugee camp, and a British news reporter, a Zionist obviously, started asking questions about Palestine. And this is what fucked him up, by the way. It's the only thing that fucked him up. That's why all the Zionists in Britain turned against him. It wasn't the Tories. Fuck all it. The Tories didn't have to do anything. They just sat back and watched the shit show. And I know exactly who it was that fucking did it. I mentioned it at a time on Facebook, and not one Corbyn supporter gave a fuck about it. So, and that group today is still going strong inside the Labour Party. Yeah, they call themselves Jewish Labour today. Paul Zion was their proper name. And while they were Paul Zion and not Jewish Labour, they sent a letter off to another Zionist organisation calling Corbyn an anti-Semite. And why? Because this Zionist, obviously a Zionist news reporter, asked him what he would do about Palestine if he became Prime Minister. And usually an MP in that position with Corbyn's mindset would tell a white lie or change the discussion, you know, and talk about someone else. No Jeremy Corbyn, no. He didn't know what it is to tell a fucking white lie to save his own career. No, he had to tell the truth, didn't he? That's why he's where he is. It's his own fault. Yeah, he told the truth. He was asked the question, what would you do about Palestine if you were a Prime Minister? Oh, Corbyn just came out and stated straight away, I would make no state, the state of Palestine again. And he actually incorporated that into the manifesto on the party website. The minute he was voted in as Prime Minister, automatically Palestine would become a Palestinian state. That's what fucked him up. That's the only thing that fucked him up. And you get Starmer now going a completely, totally different direction on that. Now, he's quite happy all the children over in Gaza are getting murdered and everything else. He's one miserable bastard, him. Now, anybody votes for him, they need their head punched in, man. They really do. Like, fuck off. Fuck, he's a fucking asshole, man, so he is. Anybody that votes in a Zionist never call yourself a socialist for a start. I mean, come on, fuck. If you vote in a Zionist and you're a Zionist, don't matter what you want everybody else to believe you are. You're also a liar then, aren't you? For trying to make out, look at me, I'm a socialist. But I'm going to vote for Starmer. in 2024 because I'm a lying bastard. Really, I'm a Zionist. You know what I mean? There's only a Zionist who vote for a Zionist. The Zionism is total opposite of socialism for a start anyway. As you can see what's happening in Gaza and over in the West Bank. Not just over the past few months, but for 75 fucking years, you know. And you get people on a place like Facebook down in England who reckon they're socialists, but they're going to vote for the Labour Party next year. That's not being a socialist. Well, as I say, it's just being a lying bastard. I'm not socialists. You can't no conscience vote for some piece of fucking scum that actually supports the demise of all those thousands of children so far over there. You can't out of no conscience vote for a piece of shit like that. No. And besides, anyway, if he doesn't win the election next year, then hopefully that party will get rid of him. The rest of the Zionists in the party will dump the bastard's ass out of it, hopefully. And what I would have done was, if that had to happen, next year election in 2029, I would have voted for him even if it was a Zionist. But now, after what's been going on in Gaza, no, I would have. But now, after what's been going on with the bombing campaigns and all that, no. Nobody in their right mind, nobody in right conscience can ever vote for any Zionist, no matter what, because they'll support that. And, you know, it is ethnic cleansing. Doesn't matter what anybody says. Doesn't matter what you hear on TV news. It's ethnic cleansing. And besides, anyway, Netanyahu's government are saying, well, it'll take up to 7 months. But Netanyahu yesterday stated that it will take years. And the funny thing is, only yesterday morning did I happen to mention on Facebook that at the rate that they're going at, if they want to get rid of 2 million Palestinians out of Gaza, that will take years. That will take longer than World War II took to get rid of the Jews. And then yesterday afternoon on Al Jazeera, that cunt over there stated, oh, it'll take years. Yeah. Why there's people like that alive in this world, I'll never fucking know. There fucking shouldn't be. Right winger. He's not a right winger, he's a far right winger. Obviously, that's far right. Starmer's far right as well. All those people in the Labour Party that support that are far right. All the little shits in England won't call them that though, because half the little shits in England support them. Because half the little shits in England that try and make out they're socialists, no, they're not. They're the same as the people they're going to vote for, obviously. Because if they weren't, they wouldn't be voting for them in the first place, would they? No. Little bastards, lying little cunts. Yeah. I'd rather just vote for my First Minister instead with my 2 votes next year. And I don't usually vote SNP. I used to always vote Labour. Well, until the EU thing came along. Yeah, Scotland Labour's not exactly what it's supposed to be way back then. And now it's definitely not what it's supposed to be, without a doubt. It'd be interesting what if you get in. Because if the English voting them in the first place, they're end up totally fucked. Yeah. There's no way he's going to improve things. No way, man. I mean, everything he's quashed so far, all the Corbyn stuff's all gone with a wind. And there was a few things he was supposed to, he said he was going to keep, but he went back on all his promises. There isn't one promise he hasn't went back on yet. Nah. One, he wasn't to be trusted then, and even now that we see his stance on Gaza, it's definitely not to be fucking trusted. Without a doubt. Anyway, I'm out of here.